Welcome to the Hunt Test Hobo Podcast, your place for truckside chats and insights into the retriever game. Whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned handler, this podcast is another resource for tips, tricks, and insights from both the amateurs and professional trainers' perspectives. Each week, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of retriever training, sharing stories of success, overcoming challenges, and forging stronger bonds with our dogs. This is the Hunt Test Hobo Podcast. I'm Chris Rudd, your host, fellow retriever enthusiast, and student of the game. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of the Hunt Test Hobo Podcast. Hope everybody is having a pretty good week. I mean, I always want to say great, but you can't have that same expectation every single time. So I hope you're having a good week this week. The sun is coming out here in Illinois. I mowed my lawn for the second time, and I feel like training season is really finally starting here up north. For those that are down south, I'm sure you guys are like already deep in the grind and feeling it. But for us northerners here, it feels like the hunt test game is about to begin for us. Today, I have an awesome guest, Leah Spivey, who has had a ton of success in the SRS game in the last couple of years. And I thought she'd be a great guest to bring on just to talk about her experience with the game. And, I wanted to kind of learn how she got to the SRS game and all of that. So I'm excited to talk with her. So Leah, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to our discussion.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear, I'm like a super nerd with building stuff and construction. And you're sitting in, I'm assuming it's like some sort of vehicle with a quack rack on the back. So I'm assuming that, and I can see the tip of Gunner Kennel for those that aren't watching on YouTube. So where are you and what are you doing?
So right now I'm actually sitting at Mr. Kevin Baggett's shop. To my left right now, he's actually working on my dog box, but I'm sitting in his Ranger, which has his quack rack and his Gunner Kennel and all. So I'm just bumming the spot right now so that we can can film this.
Very cool. Well, you were telling me a little bit while we were setting up this podcast that Kevin's doing some pretty cool stuff, and I hear a little bit of a grinding wheel in the background. So I'm assuming he's building something. So what is Kevin working on back there?
So Mr. Kevin has come up with this, I don't know how many of y'all out there get aggravated with the clips, like clipping your buckets to the door or to the side of your dog box or anything like that. But Mr. Kevin's come up with this really neat mechanism to mount water bowls and buckets into the inside of your dog box. It can go on the door. It can be mounted to the side of your dog box. And it can even be mounted to a Gunner Kennel. So whatever you want to mount it to, he's got the mechanism and the know-how, and he can ship you the parts. So we'll actually be doing a commercial on that this week, and you'll see it featured on his K9 Custom Kennels Facebook page. So if you want to go check that out, just go. I can let you know whenever we post it or whatever if you want to just put that on your website.
I'd love to share it. So it's better than the zip tie that I zip tied my Amazon bucket to my trailer, so that and I'm like always thinking like a puppy's gonna eat it, and then they're gonna poop out a zip tie, which can't be good.
No, if they eat all stainless, they're a beast. So.
They're a beast. All right, good. All stainless.
Yes, sir.
So is Kevin making trailers, or what is he making? You said dog boxes, but what else is he doing?
He'll make trailers, dog boxes. He like a 3-hole dog box right now. There's one in the back of my truck that he built. I know he's got 2 more in production right now. So if you'd like a price on that, obviously just give him a call or reach out through his K9 Custom Kennels website. He can hook you up. He is an extremely talented man, and he's got the best team behind him doing it. So cool.
So I feel like we're having a podcast with Kevin, and Kevin's not here.
Well, he's over here to my left right now. So he's just working.
Yeah, so you're like the marketing director, the communications director for Kevin's operation there.
Right.
I don't even know what my question was. I just thought it was funny that it was
a lot of people call him Kevin Baggett, but I call him Kevin Gadget because he comes up with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, I feel like, and maybe this isn't accurate, but I feel like Kevin is at every SRS. Like, I don't even look to see who else is, or like who's there, because I just know Kevin's there. I just look to see who else has entered the that SRS event, because he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's got a pretty stout team, and last year when we were in Wisconsin, he was running a dog named Dutton. I don't know if you got to watch Dutton. Dutton ended up finishing that. I want to say it was a fifth or fourth, maybe a fourth. But Dutton has really come a long way in the last year, so he is a dog to definitely keep on your radar if you're following the SRS.
Yeah,
So,
he's got Satchmo, right? Is that Satchmo Kevin's dog?
yes, sir. He's got Satchmo, Otis, Pete, Dutton, and Chrome now. So
Chrome.
yeah.
I always thought Satchmo was such a cool dog name. When I saw that, I was like, "That's a good dog name."
Yeah.
My buddy Tyler and I are always like sending each other cool dog names that we've seen. But okay, so before we go too deep into like kind of more SRS stuff and talking about that, for those that don't know who you are, why don't you give them a little background of how you got into the game and honestly, like what you love about it.
Sure. So I guess I'll go back to the very beginning, right? So brought up, my stepdad was, well, both my parents brought me up in a hunting environment. So my dad was a very avid bird hunter, and then my stepdad was as well. But my stepdad was more geared to items, hunting aspects that required a dog. So coon hunting, squirrel hunting, that those kinds of things. I've always bird hunted and stuff growing up, obviously with my dad and with my stepdad. Probably coming up through high school, I'd say latter part of middle school, kind of got into competition coon hunting, and so that's where a large part of my love for dogs came, and the competitive side more. But really, what stuck out to me, went duck hunt one time, and I had watched the Great Outdoor Games a little piece, but really kind of went duck hunting, and I saw this guy who was handling this dog, and he never had to get wet, and I was like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you've heard the name Lane Blanchett before. Lane and I started kind of training dogs a little bit, and then Lane approached me one day about having a HRC club in Dublin and asked me would I come to the meeting and let's get this thing going from the ground up. I said sure. And then once I got to learn about the HRC world, I went, man, if I'm gonna do this, I want a dog that can do this,
Yeah.
And so it just so happens at the time Elaine and Mitch Mitchell were having a litter of puppies, and Elaine's dog Mason won the crown a couple of years ago, and that's some relation to Kane and all. And I just said, well, I think I want a puppy, and I got a puppy. And then about that time, Justin Hergert had moved to town from Louisiana, and I mean, obviously, where I live at in Dublin, Georgia, there's some really great trainers around here. But I got to know Justin, and he happened to live 15 minutes from my house, and I wanted to be able to have my dog, but have a relationship with my dog. I just felt like if they were miles away, that they'd forget who I was. And at the time, I only had one dog, and it was important to me to be able to not necessarily go and see them every week, but be able to touch base, I guess, kind of track their progress kind of thing. So met Justin and his wife Erin one night at Longhorn, sat down, told him, hey, got to know them. I really want a dog one day that'll compete for the SRS crown. I'll do whatever it takes, in order for us to make it happen. You just tell me what we need. If we can go do it, I want to go do it. And I guess the rest is history after that. So,
what was it? I mean, I have a ton of questions off of just that little bit of an opening. What is it about the crown that really inspired you, or caused you to aspire to, being able to compete for the crown?
So I would say a lot of it is I have a competitive side, right? So whatever I do, I mean, whenever you're running, I would highly think that if anyone who is running the SRS has a bit of a competitive streak, right? So everybody wants to be the best and have the best. And I think that sparks a lot in people, and I'm competitive, not just in dogs. I'm competitive in my career. I'm competitive in anything that I do, right? So even before I started doing coon dogs, I used to shoot sporting clays competitively. And I guess there's a switch sometimes that goes that, you just get hyper focused and you just want to be the best. And I know Mr. Kevin wants to be the best. Mr. Kevin, you want to come join in on this podcast over here? So you waved.
Yeah. Well, tell Kevin hi for me. So what kind of career allows you for you to travel and do as much in the dog game as you've been able to do?
So I would just be honest with you. I'm very blessed with a very good boss. My boss's name is John Glockner, and John understands deeply my passion for dogs. And prior to working for the company I work for now called Kylie, I used to work with him in Nalco, and John was a mentor of mine. And he worked for the company for about 26 years, and then he ended up leaving and starting a new venture with this new company, and then reached out to me. And I won't lie, whenever he talked to me about it, he said, look, I know how much you love dogs, and I'll work with you on it. And that was really the selling point for me. So I have to say, John he's a great boss, and he knows, and matter of fact, he follows it. SRS did this new thing now with the app, so you could watch live. And he'll text me sometimes whenever I'm at a trial going, like this past weekend, he goes, how does someone get an 11? So
Very cool.
It's good for him to follow, and he definitely understands. And if he ever listens to this, John, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I went through a job transition where I kind of something similar. I got a call from somebody that's a good friend and said, hey, we want to bring you on to do, a pretty significant role, and it's going to be a lot of work. And I was like, okay, there's two things you got to understand. When October hits, I duck hunt or I goose hunt is what I said. I said, I goose hunt, and I goose hunt for real. And I said, if you're not okay with it, this ain't going to work. And I said, the other thing is I said, I have an amateur job where all I do is train dogs, and I train a lot of dogs. And when it gets into the heat of the trial season, you won't see me a lot on Fridays. And they were like, yep, we understand. And I was like, okay, we're good then. Let's do this. And it's all remote. So I'm in well, I haven't actually started yet. I keep saying I'm in the process, but like maybe mentally I'm in the process. And you'll probably see, are you coming up for the SRS in Wisconsin right after the Grand?
Yeah, so I'm gonna run the Grand and then stick around and hang out for the SRS.
Very, very cool. So I'll have to give you the tour when you get there, but I had it kind of decked out for like a pseudo kitchen. I think I made cinnamon rolls that I think you had one time.
Yep.
Which is like the easy.
Right?
What'd you say?
What'd you do it on your? You talking about the ones you cooked on your Blackstone or something?
Oh, I did some cinnamon rolls on the Pit Boss is what I did them on. I smoked them, which is when you're desperate, you do desperate things. But my point is I'm going to change that from like, I'm still going to have like a Blackstone that's going to roll out with some stuff, but I bought the new trailer and it has like a little galley in it and stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of shift some of the things that are in the back of the garage. So I'm going to build a legitimate office in the back of my truck with 2 monitors, because I work from home anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna have 2 monitors. I got an little AC unit drawn up, so I can have that in there for the the heat of the summer. And I put a generator rack on my trailer. So I'm like in the design process, but I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah.
But I won't be at I'll come to the Grand, but I did probably the biggest dumbass handler thing you could do, which is I put in the calendar to sign up for the Grand on April 9th.
Oh boy.
Which is the day it closes instead. So on April 10th, I was like, oh, I got to register for the Grand. I went to register and
it was closed.
It was closed. So that is probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in the dog game. And there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. So, it's the closest Grand possible to me. It's an hour and a half, and it's a spring Grand, and I won't be running. So I not gonna lie, I felt like the biggest idiot in the entire world when I saw closed and 800 and something dogs. I was like, what the heck did I just do? So isn't that like my heart is still like a little sad. But anyway, I'm excited that you'll be at that SRS. It'll be fun to chat some more and to get to see Kevin
Yeah,
and
you're gonna
the
run
entire
that
crew
though,
there.
right?
What'd you say?
You're gonna run that though,
Oh
right?
yeah, I'll be running that. I'm gonna run some quals and I might run an AM now before it, but I'm probably gonna get my butt. Well, I know I'm gonna get my butt kicked. I just want to like actually see if I can even get close to finishing the AM. But I'll be there for that SRS, and I think I'm gonna run. Well, depends on when winter comes into heat, because if she comes into heat in June, then the rest is over. But if she doesn't, I'm gonna run, I think 5 SRSs this year. I've kind of like really made my schedule about SRSs, but once she comes into heat, it's toast. But we'll see whenever that happens. But all right, I wanted to go back before I had to like give my confession about how dumb I am. But let's go back to your job. So what do you actually do? You said you work for some guy, and that's all I heard.
Yeah, so my official title is a regional account manager. So I handle the Southeast, and I guess the best way I know how to put it is I was joking around today, and someone asked me the same thing, like, "What do you do?" And I told him, I said, "Well, we specialize in DNA, damn near anything. We won't tell you no." uh, no, it's more like running a construction site. So we have some, big Tonka toys, a couple AT trucks, a dozer, a couple excavators and stuff like that. So we build landfills. We deal a lot in waste treatment, sludge presses, belt presses, screw presses, anything to do with waste treatment, raw water clarification. So I guess the best way to put it is I can take dirty water and make it clean, and then the water we use to make dirty, I can make it clean again before it goes to the river.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you were going to say, and we can also build a tech pond. That would be like what you need to say at the end.
I mean, that is definitely probably within our portfolio. No one's asked me that yet, but
well, you got to find some sites that are close to you, and then like be heavily involved in the design of those ponds that are clean water. Not the nasty water. But as an amateur who I've been blessed recently to find a field trial am that's had great success. She won a Canadian National Field Trial Championship, and she's like has built 2 grounds, one in Texas and one up here. That's only 30 minutes from me, and it is legit. She's got, I think, 7 tech ponds, and a pretty substantial. So like I feel like I've been like super blessed with it. But every time I see it, I keep thinking, I'm like, how in the world did she like? How can you how can you afford to build this many tech ponds? And I didn't, that's none of my business. But like to think about all the dirt being moved and like the planning of this. And I asked her one time, she's like, "No, I just started pointing to things, and they just did it." And then I looked at it and said, "No, put that dirt back." And like that's how she designed her tech pod.
My
but it's
mind ain't
amazing.
that creative. I'd have to have something drawn up.
Yeah, and her house sits on top of the hill, so you can see like honestly, the best place to run on the grounds is like from her porch.
Front porch.
Yeah. So like she's got a little grill there, and sometimes we set up and we just grill and run blinds from that spot. It's really nice. But we kind of talked about how you got into the sport, but you've had you've had a lot of success. So for those that don't know, talk about. I mean, mostly that's with Kane. I know you have a couple other dogs, but why don't you guys? You started to talk about Kane a little bit, but kind of give me the backstory of like what training him was like, and that process. And you worked with Justin from what you said. Like, how did you best manage kind of the amateur to pro relationship that might help other amateurs, because this is mostly listened by this podcast is mostly listened to by amateurs, and they're all various, where there are people like me that do most of the training themselves, and then there's people who do it like you do, or they have a pro that they're working with.
Yeah, so I'll just be straight with you. I can take 0 credit for training Kane. 0. So Justin obviously has done. There have been 2 sets of legs that have stood beside that dog his entire life, mine and Justin's, and that's it. Justin has run that dog and trained that dog, and I'll be straight with you. I really didn't even. I didn't even start running Kane really until about 3 years ago, heavy. I would run him in some HRC tests, and I think I might have run him in a couple of derbies, which we had zero success with that. I mean, that's zilch. But really, it was primarily Justin, and I didn't really become hands-on, like I said, till about 3 years ago. And a turning point for us and mine and Kane's relationship was getting ready for the 2023 Spring Grand in Omaha, Georgia. And I had gone to train with our pre-grand training group. I say our pre-grand training group. I was more or less, I like to go cook and hang out and stuff, before I handled dogs. So I watched everybody run dogs and just cooked, and ain't gonna lie, drank beer and hung out, whatever,
Yep. I know how that goes.
And then I decided, I think I want to try. And so, we trained for a week prior to the grand, and, every day I had an opportunity where Justin was by my side. And not saying he wasn't by my side before, it was just more, I guess
Concentrated?
yeah, like right here, this is, it was, I ain't gonna say it was a drill sergeant, but he wanted me to succeed. um, it was a very, very, very important week that I think just changed the tone for Kane and I. And I ain't gonna lie, the last day getting ready to start the grand, we had a very, very, very we went to church that day. And, and so from that moment on, man, things just kind of clicked. And, I think I learned more about how to read a dog. And I think through that week, the biggest thing for me to learn was they're not talking to you verbally like you and I are talking now, but they're talking to you through body language. And you've got to learn at the line, in my opinion, how to read a dog. And if you can figure that out, you're well ahead of the game before you ever kick them off, in my opinion. So
Well, how'd that grand go?
I went on twos the whole week and passed.
Nice. That's always good to feel. That's always a good feeling to go through on twos.
Yeah. So I went on twos and I passed, and it was great. And like I said, it just, that week, man, it just, that was an important week for me. So
why was it so important?
I think that's when I, as a handler, like, I mean, I can sit here and tell you, to this day, I've been around dog handling now with this for 8 years. But up until that point, I had to learn the difference between verbal and nonverbal. And I would screw it up every time. But for some reason that week, it just kind of clicked. And knowing when to give verbal on a cast and when not. And that's, dog dependent sometimes. But, you got to learn to read the situation. And I think that, I don't know if God was just speaking to me that week and telling me, hey, all you got to do is focus this week, and then I'm going to just put it in front of you. And ever since then, I just look at things with a whole new light now. And I think that, like I said, that was the turning point for Kane and I. And ever since then, I feel like we've been pretty much well in sync for the most part. No one's perfect. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I have DAH moments myself, when I'm handling. But for the most part, we got in tune. So,
all right. So let's talk about. So what you said made me think about. There's dog trainers and then there's dog handlers, and sometimes those are the same. But in the field trial game, that's what you're doing is pretty common.
yeah, I'm a jockey.
You're a jockey. I like the way you say that. Yeah, you're a jockey. So I have so many questions. Like, one is, I think I like the dog training aspect of it probably a little bit more than I like the handling of it. And I've been like that my whole life, where when it gets to that, like, I mean, I wrestled, in college and high school and everything. And I like the training almost more than I like the actual, like, okay, it's a state championship match. Here we go. Let's go do it. Cause I was just, not that I caved into pressure. I enjoy the journey a lot.
Yeah.
But I know that there's people that are just like really good handlers. And so
I'll
I
take
guess
it.
like, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I guess this is,
No.
well, I guess what you're bringing something that's coming to my mind. Like, I'll give you an example. When I go out to train during the week with Justin and Owen, I am probably, well, two things. Kane is probably the worst dog in training that you'll ever see. A lot of people don't, a lot of people don't believe me, but I'm telling you, it's terrible. It's terrible 90% of the time. I never walk away from a training session where I'm like, man, we killed that. But it's more like, dang, like this weekend might be bad kind of thing. But I think a lot of times for someone like myself, who is probably more geared towards the jockeying or the handling, I have a hard time separating when I go to train the difference in trying to train a dog versus trying to handle the dog. I think a lot of people like me, and I'm guilty of it a lot, is that I walk up to a training session and I'm attacking it like a test. I'm not trying to attack it like, let me teach this dog something. I'm more or less trying to survive the situation. And that does not, you don't accomplish anything like that in training. And I'm 100% guilty of it. That's why I say I'm not a trainer. I'm a jockey. I'm probably that person that's more best. Let me step to the line with that dog and let's just get through this kind of thing. But when it comes to training them and building them, you giving them me when they're 8 weeks old to 6 months before it's time for them to get shipped off to boarding school, and I can socialize them and I can have them ready to go to a degree. But after that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna struggle. So I would say I'm good at maintaining. Like I can maintain one, but when I bring them home and I'm training them, I'm not fixing to go throw a set unless I'm under supervision by Justin. by
That's
Justin
funny.
or Owen.
Supervision.
However, I'm good with doing the things that are very black and white, like drills. I believe in going back to the basics and consistency is key. And if we can do the little things good, that sets us up for good foundation to do the big things later. So give me the small stuff, right on back down to T-field, but other than that, like I said, I'm not going to go set up some quad and then do 2 retires without, someone there watching me. So
yeah. Well, that's cool. It seems like you found something that you really love, which is the handling part of it, or the jacking. I'll try to use that for the rest of the episode. I love it. I think that that probably will have to be the title of this episode. But the difference, like, so help me understand. So you go how many times and work with does like right now? What's Kane's kind of like weekly schedule? I mean, besides going and winning, this weekend's SRS.
So I'll be honest with you. Kane is on a probably 2 to 3 day program right now.
Well, let's back up. How old is Kane? I think I know, but I'm just, for everybody that's listening.
In August, he turns 8.
8, okay.
So I don't think training him, you only get so many runs with him, right? And he's at that point in his career where, in my opinion, he deserves to have a little time off, This year, this would be the first time he doesn't go on a summer trip to go up north. He's going to stay home with me. So that'll be for me, this is like, woo, my baby's getting old kind of things.
Yeah.
But I do have some other ones that are going to make the trip. I have 6 total.
Whoa! I did not know you had 6 dogs.
Yeah.
Man, you're worse than me.
Yeah, I got 6, so they just keep growing.
Yeah, my wife and all my friends are like, "You have 4 dogs that are yours right now." I'm like, "Yeah, I got a 6-hole. I could get 2 more, but that's not where we're at right now. But 6, whoa, that's a lot."
Yeah, so Kane is he's actually not the oldest one that I have. I have one that his name is Frisco. He's
that's
9.
a good name too. Frisco.
Yeah, well, actually he's full grown black male, and he weighs 38 pounds. So his actual name is Thought You'd Be Bigger. So
38-pound male?
Yeah.
He's a little guy.
Yeah, we all call him Wee Man. So
Wee Man. Did you do much with him?
So he's passed the Grand 4 times. I've never ran him in the Grand. Justin's put every pass on him, and funny story, every pass that Justin has put on him, he went on ones in the first.
That's got to feel good.
I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it. So, my nerves would be shot. So.
Man, the pro dog trainers have like, I'm convinced they have like this like thing that they can just turn off in their brain where they just kind of go, bleh.
Yeah,
and they kind of just turn into these zombies through these hard weekends, and then they turn into normal people when there's food and it's over.
Well, I'll just tell you, kudos to him because ain't no way I could do it.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know if that's Justin. I'm just thinking of two pros in my back of my mind who just like
well,
walk
I
at their own
think
pace.
that I would say that Justin's the type that he gets in the zone. When he goes, he's in the zone. You know, it's Grand Week, and now it's grand and grind. So, but let's see. I got Frisco, and then I got Kane, and then I own a dog named Buzz.
Yeah, I've seen but you ran Buzz this last SRS that I was at.
Yep, I ran Buzz, and then I own a dog named Gus. I co-own Gus with a gentleman named Brandon Hudson, and Gus has passed the Grand 4 times. I'm trying to get him ready to run SRS, but we've got some work to do on the white coat side. That's kind of where I would feel he struggles a little bit more. But I believe in chances, so we're gonna try it. Sometimes stars will align. I am a believer in that. Right weekend, right test, right mindset for the dog, and it can happen. Let's see. Then I got a dog. See, I said Frisco, Kane, Buzz, Gus. Oh, and then I co-own a dog with Mr. Kevin. His name is Jester, and he's 16 months old. So, and right now, Owen Hall, another trainer at Southern Way Kennels, is really doing a lot. Like, he's done every bit of work with him. So I'm really excited to see how Jester's going to do coming up. He's run a couple hunt tests and some derbies, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm looking forward to the 3 and 4 year old mark where I can start trying to run him in SRS.
Yeah, you got to wait a long time if you're just gonna be the jockey.
Yeah,
and they got to go through. When do you normally start handling them? Like 4 or 5, 3 or 4 or 5? Depends on the dog, I'm sure, but
well, this kind of goes back to another piece of something to do with Kane. I didn't really start handling Kane until he was about 5, and what I found was the respect aspect of this. He did not respect me whatsoever, and so we're trying things a little bit different with Jester. Not saying that I mean, I have run him in 2 hunt tests, but more when I come out to train. I don't train him every time, and usually when I do it, it's like I said, under supervision, and it's very black and white.
Yeah.
And but that's something we didn't really do with Kane. And I said, look, I don't want to.
You have to go through all that later. Like let's front load that now while he's building that foundation of what he's what he needs to do. So you got all guys, no girls, from what I gather.
No, and then I got one more. His name is Gravy. And
Gravy.
He's 8 months old right now, and so he's just now getting with the program. But yes, all males, no females. If you want to know my honest opinion on this, I think that female dogs run better for men, and I think that male dogs run better for women. And not only that, if my dog had a litter of puppies, I'd probably never sell them, and I'd have 20 dogs.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about it that way, but I will say I like females more, just the way that they interact. Now, I own 2 males. Now, one I really like, and the other one's, I think he's 5 months old. So, we'll see where that goes. Yeah, I've trained a lot of males and a lot of females, just puppies, and it seems that the females are more enjoyable to me, which maybe there's something to that. But I mean, you look at Lauren Hayes. I mean, she's had great success with Fox and others, Slider and everybody. So I don't know.
All males.
Maybe there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to tell that to my daughter because there it is. My 9-year-old daughter ran our male dog Rex, so that's it, settled.
Well, I'm just telling you that's something that I notice and prefer. But don't take it to the bank because I ain't sometimes the smartest or the brightest, but I just do what works best for me. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. No, that makes sense. I've often just wanted to get mail so I don't have to deal with them being in heat. It's really the only reason I think that there's a big advantage, but we'll see where all that goes. But cool. Well, that was pretty fun. So you've had, you won this weekend, right? I'm not just saying that. I'm saying, right? Yeah. Like, you didn't react the first time I said. I was like, crap. Maybe I watched the wrong one and I got my weekends mixed up, or is it? Because I know you've won. How many have you won now? How many weekends have you won?
3. Three SRSs this year, and one.
No, this year. I'm talking in total. It's not 3 total. Can you even count? And have all of them been with Kane, or has Buzz won one yet?
No, Buzz, the closest he's come is he's got a second. But I want to say, don't quote me on this, but between last year and this year, I want to say 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
Between 2024 and then now. I definitely have 3 wins now in 2025, but the 2024 season, it was either 3 or 4. I got.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that is a huge accomplishment to be able to do that. And so, what did Kane already had one in the Open, right? With Justin, I think I've seen him at that. He's got that title as well. So,
yeah.
When did he get that title with Justin?
I want to say it was in 2020. Is it the 2020 or 2021? He won that SRS down at Stephen Durance's place.
Very cool.
So,
and Stephen's close to where you guys are, right?
He's hour 15.
All right, yeah, that to me that's close, but
yeah,
we don't have the density of trainers down south. Seems to be much more compacted than us up here in the north, where it's like you gotta go 4 hours to see another pro.
No, not down here.
a real pro. I mean, there's people who are pros, but then there's pros. Yeah, so. I don't need to say anything more.
We're from a field trial perspective. Obviously, Boston, Lincolnton, Pavo. That's less than 3 hours from here, and so
for those that don't know, that's all. Why am I blank? That's all the.
Arthur.
It's all Lardy's and all that. Those guys and stuff, right? I wanted to say his kennel name, but then I was like, crap, I don't know how to pronounce it. And then like, crap, what's his name? I'm like, I know, of course I know his name, but it took me. I was like, hey, come on, it's late. My brain's like not fully there, but yeah. And that was where the Master National was a year ago or something. Yeah, that's nice.
Beautiful ground. I don't know if you've ever got to go there, but the grounds down there are phenomenal. I mean, just gorgeous. The best way I know how to describe it is just gorgeous. Makes me jealous every time I go down there.
Yeah. Well, for me, like any sort of a point made me jealous, 3 years ago. Like, and a lot of people listening, they're like, I get a lot of comments. How do I make this retention pond work? Or how do I make this work? So there is something about tech water that is just gorgeous, just beautiful. Well, manicured tech pond is really, really cool. Really, really nice. All right. So, I felt like I interrupted you 6 times in that question.
You're good.
But we were okay. So Kane, we were talking about his age. You just won the last SRS this last weekend. Was there anything that was kind of unique or cool or crazy that happened with that? I know that they got an app now that you can watch them on. Is that going to be at every SRS, or how's that working? Do you know?
Yeah, so this past weekend was called an SRS Classic, and it's something that they've decided to bring back from years past as they try to broaden things within the SRS and trying to get growth, right? So this past weekend was live on YouTube, kind of like The Crown. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing now that the SRS is doing, and I think it's gotten great feedback, is now you can download the app, the SRS app. And so as they're doing scores, you can go and refresh, and then as soon as they're plugging in the scores, you're getting them. Where used to, you'd have to wait for someone to refresh.
Post a picture.
On Facebook. So.
And the picture was doing this weird thing last year. I don't
you couldn't
couldn't expand it or something and you couldn't scroll to the next. Yeah, it was a mess. So that's cool.
It's funny when you look back in the gallery now. Everyone's like this.
Oh, instead of everybody staring at the whiteboard,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I can just look at my phone. It's
Now
faster
they
than the
don't have to get
whiteboard.
up. Yeah. So, and I think that Miss Shannon and the SRS board and Matt Emerson and them done a really, really, really good job coming up. I think what I'm trying to say is they took feedback from their survey that they sent out and they responded with something that was phenomenal. I've
Yeah.
heard nothing but good things about this. So,
Yeah. Very
um,
cool. Very cool. So, well, speaking of the SRS, you mentioned that you're going to be judging a pretty special event that's coming up.
yeah, so it's either I think it's June or July. Don't quote me on that. It's one of the months that starts with a J, but not
Wow,
January.
that's when you know that you're in the heart of like handling season, like trial
Yeah,
season. When you don't even know what month it is, but it's like within 3, and you're like maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. It's somewhere out there.
yeah. So I'm gonna judge the SRSU, which is a special event that they do each year for students in college and in high school, and it's gonna be held at Mossy Pond, which is here in Georgia. Uh, and to be quite honest with you, I think that this is something that is important to the sport because you think about the youth that's out there. And to be honest with you, I feel like this year alone with an HRC and all that, that everyone is trying to do a youth event because let's get real, the youth is the future. Let's think about how many young handlers are out there. You don't really see, in my opinion, a whole heaping lot. I would say that even within the SRS, I'm one of the younger handlers that are out there competing right now, and anything that I can do to help foster the youth to come in and want to learn about the sport and learn about dog handling and all. I mean, I was extremely happy when Carter Turner reached out to me and asked me did I want to judge, and I was like, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. My co-judge is John Lamar, and I think that between the two of us, I think we're going to throw some exciting stuff for that group of youngsters. So while I have an opportunity, anyone who is listening, please, if you know someone who is in college or in high school, if you want to know more about it, please reach out to me. I highly encourage you to bring a student is allowed to run 2 dogs. And if they qualified, they are qualified for the crown, which I think is something that's really, really cool. But it does not have to be a dog that you own. You can run a pro-owned dog. You can run someone else's dog. It doesn't matter. The main thing here is that we want you to come. We want you to have fun. We want to educate you a little bit about the SRS and a little bit about the dog world. And I hope that I have a positive impact on that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for doing it. It's great. It's great for the the dog community and everything. One thing I think would be good to add is that the nice thing about SRSU is that pro that runs the dog or the amateur that owns the dog, they can stand behind the student, from what I understand, the whole time and coach them throughout the time. So it's not like he walked to the line and good luck.
You're
There's
not on an island. No,
yeah,
you
you're not
have
on an
someone
island.
back there. But I mean, you could literally tell them, when it's time to blow the whistle. And I think, like I said, I think it's a great team aspect sport, not only just for you and the dog, but you and your coach, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yes, thank you for pointing that out because I did forget that piece. But you're not walking up there with a good luck and break a leg, but you're walking up there with someone behind you who's going to try to help you succeed. So
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. My daughter ran our dog Rex, who passed the grand. He's a good dog, but she ran him and started, and he's huge. He's like 80 pounds, and she was this little kid that's probably 55 pounds, and she's walking up there to start it, and she sits him down, and I've taught her, this is how you do everything, and she did not point to the right gun. And she sat down and she crossed her legs, like she brought one leg in front of her and went meh, 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 meh. And like her legs were crossing, and I'm like standing there in the back, like I can't say anything. But it's like that simple thing. And luckily, he heard that winger, and he like took his head and like put it on her legs, like it's over there. And she's like, oh yeah, and then she turned. But it's like that feeling of like, oh, this is not good. Like we practiced this so much, and you're literally pointing the wrong direction here, but it all worked out. And then the best part is on the watermark, like I swear I aired this dog and he went to the bathroom, but on his way back, he got to the shore and he just let one go. And I was like, are you kidding me? And everybody was making so much fun of me, of course, standing there. So I felt really small, but I had to run back to the truck, get something to clean it up with, and all that. And my daughter's like, why did he do that? I'm like, oh, So, you got with 6 dogs, you got 6 dogs. Kind of what is your goal in, for the future? I mean, I know you're trying to chase the crown, but like, what drives you and why are you loading up so much?
Well, I think that, if we go through the age group of my dogs, I've got a 9-year-old, I've got a soon to be 8-year-old, I've got a 7-year-old, I've got a 6-year-old, and then I have a 16-month-old and then an 8-month-old. So really and truly my older dogs are getting older, and I've got to be planning and bringing up the future, right? And absolutely, I want to win the crown, but I do believe that in order to be successful at the crown, you have to dabble in all games, and that's one thing that we tend to try to do with my dogs. We're gonna go the HRC route. We're gonna go this route, field trial route. We're gonna try this. We're gonna try that. I think in order to, you have to do it all if you want to be successful at the SRS. That's just all there is to it, in my opinion.
And you gotta have a lot of bullets.
And I think that, I think you gotta have a lot of bullets. And I think that even though I'm a jockey, shall you say, learned, like I said, the most important piece or tool that I have put in my tool bag is literally learning how to read the dog at the line. The way they breathe, if what is their quirk that they do if they see a mark, or all that is important. I mean, that's where it all starts for me at a test, is even how you come out of the holding blind. You come out of the holding blind a certain way, and I think if you went back and you even watched me run this past SRS, which was on YouTube, you're going to see I do the same thing with every dog. But even though I do the same thing with every dog, when we step to that mat, they're all different. Kane's going to give me a head nod. Jester's going to stick his tongue out like a lizard. Frisco's going to pop his jaws 3 or 4 times. Buzz is going to twitch his nose 3 times to the left and pin his ears back. All of that is stuff that you need to be paying attention to read the room.
Yeah, that's some level of detail right there.
So
now, did you figure that stuff out, or I'm assuming Justin told you? Like, here's what they do.
I would say that Justin told me a lot to do with Kane, and then once I've learned it with Kane, I learned what to look for in the others.
Yeah.
So, now Justin has helped me with every one of them. Don't get me wrong. And then Owen has helped me substantially with Jester, even though we're still learning with him the things to do. But the most pivotal piece with Justin and I has really been with Kane and with Buzz. But once he taught me with Kane, the rest fell in place for the rest of it.
Once you kind of know how to do that stuff. So that's really, really cool. I love the detail that you go into it. With the reading, did the dog see the mark, which is obviously incredibly important with the SRS. And I know what each one of my dogs does, and it's not the same as the examples you gave. There's just different. So yeah, that was cool. Well, I really enjoyed this. I didn't know what we were going to really chat about, so it was cool. It was fun.
Man, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad. And so, and for those that don't know, you is it say that you hosted some of the Crown later on, right? Like you not hosted it. You were on the live stream, like, right? And
at SRS.
At the SRS Crown, right? You did a bunch of the.
Oh yeah. So for the finals, I commentated a little bit with Pat Burns, and then ended up commentating the rest of it with another fellow handler, Rob Robinette. So that was pretty cool. You know, I mean, obviously I would have rather been running the finals, but
Yeah, I
hope
really enjoyed that. Like I liked hearing the amateur perspective. I mean, obviously I love taking in the knowledge from the pros, but just to hear other amateurs talking about it was really fun. So I just want to say thanks for doing that.
Oh, and I appreciate that. And I think, you know, again, I'm not a trainer, I'm a jockey. And
Yeah.
I think the thing that I tried to do, and I think that Rob tried to do as well when we were talking, was, you know, this is an important moment for those 12 handlers, those 12 teams, pro and am. And I know each person that stepped to that line extremely well. And I more or less wanted to talk about them and their dog. And we can sit here and we can talk about running blinds and this, that, and another all day long. But I wanted to say, if I was in this situation with them, this is what I would do. This is how I'd attack the test. This is what I'd look for. And, you know, like Dustin Owens, you know, he had 2 dogs, and I've known both of them dogs since they were puppies. And so it just gave me a minute to, you know, really focus on
Yeah.
them.
I remember that you talking about that was the one. I was like, because I didn't know anything about Dustin, like at all. Like I don't know, I haven't met him. Was he the marshal at the test up at Hickory Hills? Yeah, in Ohio. Yeah. Hickory Hills is in Ohio. Yeah, okay. So because he looked familiar, but I couldn't really place him.
Yep.
But that makes more sense. Yeah. But I enjoyed those stories.
And then, like, talking about Mr. Kevin and his dog Satchma, you know, that one, like I said, I would have loved to have been there competing with him, but it was an honor to get there and talk about, you know, some of my friends, especially my best friends, my training partners, and people that I've grown to know, and who enjoyed this game as much as I do. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for being on the Hunt Test Hobo podcast. Appreciate your time, and make sure Kevin knows he could have joined in, but you know, we'll tell him he was too scared. We tell him, you know, we know he was too scared.
No, he was just working on my dog box. That's important too.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.